One of the most requested subjects in the rooms are sales and dating slash seduction advice. So what I've done a couple months ago, this came up for the first time, and I decided to selflessly sacrifice for you guys, make a dating site profile, because I suspected there was a significant overlap. Like you could use the knowledge that you've gained in talking to people, dealing with people, managing conflict, building rapport, all those things. They should be, sort of equivalent in the dating scene. So I started trying it out. Turns out I was absolutely right. Obviously, there are some, small differences, but what I'll be doing and what I thought will be interesting is I'm going to be putting together start to finish, including case studies, sort of a deep dive on sales and seduction, how to use it in your personal life, how to use it in your business life, and how they match, how they overlap. It will allow you to level up as a man. It will allow you to build better relationships. It will allow you to light up a room of people when you come in. It will allow you to be better at storytelling. It's going to be awesome. So let's get into the first lesson. We need to talk about abundance mentality. Whether it's prospecting, whether it's sales, whether it's dating, you have to understand if you're into girls, new girls are becoming 18 every single day. There are new girls traveling into your city, traveling out of your city, into your country. There's an unlimited supply. Prospects, same thing. Thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of businesses are opening every year, month, week. New prospects are abound. Every day, countless new prospects are waking up, realizing that they have an issue that you could solve. The day before, they didn't have the issue, or they didn't realize they had the issue. Now they suddenly wake up, they have the issue. Now they're a prospect, all of a sudden, like this. And this happens all the time. The nice thing about that is that it sort of alleviates all of the stress from you having a sales call, you going on a date, you having a conversation, because it doesn't really matter. Like, of course you want it to work. Of course you want it to work out. Of course you're moving towards an end result. But if you don't get there, if this is not the right prospect, the right person at the right time, there's an unlimited amount of them. It doesn't matter. The main thing that breaks people, that sabotages them, that repulses someone that's talking to you, is you coming from this scarcity mindset, this almost like creepy thing where I need this to work. I must succeed. I can't fail. Bro, relax. There's an unlimited amount. Like put in the rock meme, like it doesn't matter. That's the mindset. And that makes you able to be much more relaxed if it's clear to the person that you're talking to that you're there to either in sales help out, see if there's a match, if you're there to have fun. Like it depends on the setting, right? There's business settings and there's personal settings. But if it's clear that you're not creepy and you're not like trying to get something from them, that you're not desperate for getting some sort of result, everything goes so much easier. If you're not needy because you have the abundance mindset, and it sounds like a little new age, airy-fairy when I say abundance mindset, like you immediately start thinking about like crystals and people visualizing and, silent retreats in the yoga center. That's not what I mean. I mean, in a very pragmatic, practical way, there are literally unlimited amounts of prospects and people in the world. Sure, you're going to have high pressure situations. Sure, like if you're pitching the president or your local like mob boss or something, yeah, that's going to be high pressure. But you're not in that situation, are you? You're just talking to a dude or a girl, and there are endless amounts of them. So relax. If this doesn't work out, something else will come along. No one hits it out of the park every single time. I tell this story a lot. When I started in sales, I think I went 36-0 in an industry where you were supposed to close like 1 out of 3. If you were bad, 1 out of 4. I did 0 and 36. It was incredible. To this day, I've never seen anyone as bad as that. And gradually I got better at sales. I learned something from every presentation, looked back at it, and eventually I got my first success. And from there on out, I started getting better. If you look at the equivalent in dating, when I started out, I think the first 2, they were okay because I had some skills, I had some experience, I had some like sales acumen. I missed some cues and I made some obvious mistakes that we'll talk about later in the series. And that's absolutely fine because again, endless amounts. It doesn't matter. And these days, in both sales and seduction, I can be absolutely lethal because you get a feel for what works. You get better and better and better every time. That's the nice thing about either rejection or failure. Every single time it happens, it gets you closer to your end goal. So people look at it in very much the wrong light. You look at it like, oh, I'm worthless, or I got rejected, or this is a bad thing. It's not a bad thing. It's a great thing. It's awesome. It's like going to wrestling or going to boxing. Like if you get tapped out or you get punched in the face, you don't get depressed. You learn from it. So you don't get punched in the face again, and you don't get tapped out again, hopefully. That's going to happen a lot. You're learning a new skill. But every time you get a little bit better, a little bit closer to your goal. And that's what we're going to cover here. I'm going to try to save you from some of the mistakes that I've made. I won't be able to save you from every mistake. But what will be most helpful is me going over the actual conversations I've been having, me showing you the actual conversations that have been going on. And it'll allow you to look back at your own conversations, like your own either sales calls or dates, whatever it may be, and see where you mess up. Once you see it in someone else, once someone points it out, it's pretty easy to see, oh, that's what I did. That's what I did wrong. And that's the point of these videos, to give you a framework, but also to show you which mistakes am I possibly making. First and foremost, you can't be coming to the table needy, man. You got to tighten that down. Relax, endless amounts of prospects, abundance. There's unlimited amounts. Don't worry. All right, let's talk about something that is absolutely crucial, vital when it comes to sales, seduction, every sort of social situation. People get this wrong all the time. And if you do, you're sort of shooting yourself in the foot. You're starting off the whole match when you're way behind in score. When you're dealing with people, the energy you bring to the table, your presence, is probably even more important than whatever you're saying. Now, obviously, whatever you're saying has to back up what you're bringing to the table. The first impression is always your energy. And I see people getting this wrong all the time. I went into a car dealership recently. I had to buy a new car. And the sales guy literally came to me like Eeyore from Winnie the Pooh. You know, the depressed donkey. He approaches me, and the energy is so low that I thought that someone died or something. So, I'm already sort of thrown off by this because I assume that you want to get a sale. I assume that you're there to, you're in a commercial function. You're supposed to sell. So, bring your A game. Well, he didn't bring his A game. He brought his Z game or something. And so I think the first thing that I asked him was, hey, is everything okay? And the guy looks at me really confused. Says, yeah, sure. Yeah, it's all okay. It sort of looks like you're distraught or something. Or said, no, it's just really busy. And a lot of people are sick. And, these days it's just hard, man. It's, yeah, well. And then I have to take over the appointments of my other colleagues. And he's trailing off. And I ask him, basically, hey, but isn't that awesome? If you get the appointments of your other colleagues, you can make more sales, right? Well, people these days, they don't really, they don't really buy cars, and a lot of them are just, looky-loos, and yeah. The dude was getting me down. This is 10 a.m. in the morning or something, and I don't like being down in energy. I don't deal with people that are low energy. Now, I'm not unique in that regard. People like other people with high energy. And I'm not talking about ADHD, being all over the place and being frantic. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about someone that comes in to any situation and he's happy, he's cheerful, he's enthusiastic, he's professional. That's what I'm talking about. And every single one of your business contacts, of your dates, of your future networking contacts is going to appreciate you stepping into the room, stepping into the interaction with an energy that makes things better. That's what we love. No matter who you meet, chances are enormous that everyone that they meet, every situation that they're in, every interaction that they have is boring. Life is boring for a lot of people. They don't meet many interesting, fired up, motivated guys that are about it. In these situations, I want you to put yourself in a state. Being sociable, that's a state of being. It's not an inherent skill. It's not like some people are born, quote unquote, with that. Some people are naturally good at it, which is awesome. If you know something about my history, you know that I'm not naturally good at it. I'm much more introverted by nature. And whenever I tell this to people, they don't believe me. I say this all the time, and then I get, no, that's not true. No, you're bullshitting. I'm not bullshitting. It's true. But I've gotten really good at getting into the state necessary to socialize with people. Got a question recently. Someone asked me, Arno, do you ever get nervous when you're talking to a girl? When I'm talking to people? I'm just having fun. I'm enjoying myself. I'm getting the most out of the situation. And the main thing that I do is just bantering and building rapport with someone. And it doesn't really matter what's between their legs. Whatever sex they are, that's absolutely fine. For me, being sociable is a state that you put yourself in. What you're trying to do is you're trying to actually connect to people. The question about being nervous if you're talking to girls, I got the same question a day ago, actually. But then the question was, when I'm talking to rich people, I get nervous. How do I deal with that? It's the exact same question. It shouldn't matter how beautiful someone is, how rich someone is, how influential someone is. That shouldn't really matter to your demeanor, to your energy that you bring to the interaction. Because whatever you're bringing to the table should be enough and should be the same for everyone that you meet. Now, obviously, let's say you meet an extremely famous person. Let's say you meet a very high-ranking business guy, networking contact that you're really excited about. Let's say you meet a beautiful, exquisite woman. Now, I understand that's going to sort of influence your behavior. I understand that. I'm not saying everyone is the same. Just go for it. But what I can tell you, because I've been in both sides of this situation. Well, except for the beautiful woman. I've never been a beautiful woman, but all the other stuff, I've been in both sides of the equation, where being like the guy coming up and trying to get in touch with someone that can further my career and further my network. And I've also been on the other side. So being the guy that someone looks up to or that is important to someone. You have to remember that these people are human beings. They get up in the morning the same way that you get up in the morning. They go to the bathroom as well. They sweat, they bleed, they cry. That's all the same. So coming into the interaction, obviously you're going to have a certain modicum of respect. You're going to handle yourself well. But the energy I want you to bring is that of someone that enjoys the interaction, that is looking forward to talking to someone, that actually listens to the person at the other side of the table. It should be about you enjoying yourself and you enjoying the moment, being in touch with other people. So how you posture yourself, that's slightly different when you're talking about social situations, networking, sales, seduction. Let me start at the end. If it's about seduction, the way I handle it is I'm very playful. At dates, I'm not very serious at all. You amp up the non-seriousness of the situation because, again, most lives are boring. Most people are bored out of their brain. And now you're in a social situation. You want to enjoy yourself on a date, or you're meeting with some guys in a social setting. Now you want to crank it up, the fun factor, and you want to have fun. You want to enjoy yourself. You want to break through the boring stuff. Lighthearted. That's the way to put it. One of my dates recently said, I'm used to calling things funny, but she said, well, it's not really funny. You're being lighthearted. You're not taking things so seriously. Which is a beautiful way to put it. When we're talking about sales and business, it's got to be more professional. But when I say that, people sort of sometimes take it the wrong way, where they assume that professional is stiff, very formal. That's not what I'm talking about. You're not going to obviously crack sex jokes at your first sales call, at least in the beginning. The setting, you need to come in with the energy that you're enjoying yourself and you're looking forward to this. You're looking forward to meeting that person. If it's a professional thing, obviously keep it professional, but the energy you bring to the table should be very, very, very similar to whatever social situation there is. People understand and sense when you're having fun, when you're enthusiastic, when you're excited to meet them. They feel it. I can't really describe how. It must be something nonverbal, must be something that's built into us from the start, from our original hardware as naked monkeys. I don't know. But if you get into any interaction and you're excited, you have the twinkle in your eye, you smile, you're happy to be there, that's going to set you up in such a massive way. It's going to help you in every possible metric. So remind yourself, happy, smiling, excited to be there. Let's do this. I'm looking forward to this. Doesn't matter how you feel on the inside, by the way. If your cat just died, or an alligator ate your dog second before, well, and you still have to go in smiling, happy, looking forward to this. This is going to be awesome. Let's do it. Positive, optimistic. And you want to take them into your world. You want to take your energy and boost the whole conversation instead of falling into the trap of, getting lower in their energy, getting sort of bogged down, being boring. Don't be boring. Be high energy. Be enthusiastic. Be a force for good. Make their day better. That should be your main goal. There's a simple framework that you can use to convince anyone of anything. If you use it, your chances of convincing someone to go up infinitely, basically. And if you don't, I can almost guarantee you that you're either going to run into issues, run into conflict, you're never going to get your point across, or if you do, by happenstance, win the debate, they're going to resent you for it, and it's not going to last, not going to stick. So, let me illustrate this with a story. And it's almost a silly story, but it encapsulates what I'm trying to tell you perfectly. A while ago, I was talking to a family member, and for whatever reason, the subject came to the dodo bird. You know the dodo bird? They're extinct now. And the story that I was told in school, and that was usually believed, was that the Dutch, my people, ate all the dodo birds. So They went overseas to where the dodo bird lived. I forget where he lived now. Forgive me. I'm not that excellent at topography. Anyway, so and they go there, and the dodo bird was like a 1 meter bird. He was fat, was a land bird, and apparently he was delicious. So, and the Dutch came off the boat, hunted that animal to extinction, and that was it. So, subject comes to the dodo bird, and my family member says, "Yeah, we hunted that animal into extinction." And I know that's not the case, because a while ago, don't ask me why, but I think I saw some documentary about it or something, or I read an article, doesn't really matter. And it's actually much more complex. The reason for extinction is much more varied than people realize. So what I did was what most people would do in this situation, is that I said, no, that's actually not true. And you know what happened? My family member said, yes, it is. And this is what happens on a daily basis with a lot of you. You want to get a point across. It can be something super innocent, like, the dodo bird, or it can be a sale, can be in a romantic sense where you want to, get your point across or convince someone of something. And now you sort of get stuck into a rut because you say yes, they say no, you say black, they say white, and now you're stuck. So let me give you the framework, because what a lot of people do, this is very popular on the internet as well, on YouTube, on discussion forums or chat rooms or whatever. People start fencing with their logic, trying to flex on other people with their massive logic skills. And they say, no, because what I read is this study, and then really you're wrong because X, Y, Z. And if you do that, the other party, the other side, is going to dig in even deeper. Because one thing that people really, really, really hate to do is admit that they're wrong. People don't like that at all. A man convinced against his will is of the same opinion still. So the first thing that I want you to do, first step in the framework, on their level, get on the same wavelength. And the best way to do that is to agree with them. Now, in this case, we have our dodo problem. And we don't agree because, I'm right, they're wrong. So how do you do this? Very simple. Framework is, I used to think the same thing. I think I used those exact words. Like, you know what? I used to think the same thing. We got taught that in school. You read that everywhere, right? And then I found out, this is the framework is, I used to think the same thing. And then XYZ happened. And then I realized that ABC is actually real. So in this case, yeah, we got taught that in school. I thought the exact same thing. Like I'm with you. That's what I'm trying to get across here, right? I'm with you. And then I saw this documentary, and you know what's weird? Like obviously, yes, we hunted that animal, and we probably ate a lot of dodo birds. I'm still agreeing, right? But you know what else happened? On the ships, they took other animals with them. So obviously rats, that was mostly an accident. They didn't want the rats on the ship, but rats do what rats do. And then the dodo bird, because it was a land bird, he had his nest on the ground, and the rats got to the eggs. So they started nibbling away at the dodo population. And then we also took chickens and pigs, and they did the same thing. So they sort of started eating the food that the dodo bird loved to eat. So really, like you're right about like us hunting them down to extinction. I thought the same thing, but all of these other things also came into play, and there's like a big combination of things that made the dodo bird go extinct. Now, if you notice, I've made my point, and it's very, very easy for the other side now to say, yeah, I didn't know that. You're right. That's very interesting, because they don't have to dig in. They don't have to admit that they were wrong, because I just said, I agree fully. And then I found out this, and then that led me to a new conclusion. And you sort of take them with you on a journey to a new point. This is a super effective technique in sales and in all sorts of discussions, where you can take someone from, yeah, I was with you, then I found out this, and now I realized this. I used to think that blueberries were the best fruit available and they were amazing for your health. And then I found out about this weird, like African shaman guy, and he actually sells enchanted strawberries. And it turns out that if you eat those, you get superpowers. And I tried it out and it's amazing. So you should try these enchanted strawberries. They're awesome. Same formula. You never, ever, ever tell them that they're wrong. That never works. It never works. And even if you win the debate, even if you crush them with your logic and your reasons and your verbosity, which is amazing, and your eloquent words, it doesn't matter because you're telling them that they're wrong. You want to give them a good way to save face. Super, super important. Give them a way to save face. Never make them admit that they were wrong. Take them on a journey with you. Make it easier for them to say, well, now that you say that, yeah, you actually have a point. That's very interesting. It works because you start out by building common ground. You start out by agreeing with them. Most important step in convincing someone of anything is making sure that they understand that you're with them. I'm on your side. And now we can get started. You don't want to start out adversarial because it's just going to butt heads, not going to get you anywhere. So let's switch gears for a moment, and I want to take you into a field that is extremely important for you because it influences your social standing, it influences how people see you, and it will influence your relationships massively. And what I'm talking about, you see me talking about it in the rooms as well, is social awareness. We need to work on that because it's at an all-time low in the world. Like, it's amazing how bad people are at this. Everyone wants to do business with, be friends with, be romantically involved with, be around people that get it, that just, they won't embarrass you. You know that you can take them basically anywhere in any situation and they'll be absolutely fine. They're an asset. So in order to do that, you have to become that person. You have to become the one that is comfortable in every surrounding. What you have to understand is that we as human beings are, like I said often, hairless monkeys. So the hardware is very much caveman hardware, hasn't evolved that much. And we all have hierarchies. Sort of get like a flashback of Jordan Peterson when I say something like that. Hierarchies. Don't worry, I'm not going to go into the crab and I'm not going to cry either. So, we'll be fine. Don't worry. The way you are perceived in any surrounding, in a social hierarchy, has a lot to do with your social awareness. How good you are at this, how much you've studied it. So I'm here to help you do that, to make you blend into any surrounding and basically not only blend in, but stand out in a good way, where people immediately notice, oh, he gets it. Because I can tell you, I'm in a lot of different settings, a lot of different group meetings, sometimes in person, sometimes I'm the one that the meeting is about, sometimes I'm just a bystander. But I pay attention, and I know most people that are adept at social skills pay a lot of attention to if someone gets it or not. If you get it, you immediately rise in the social hierarchy and in the eyes of the beholder, which is very important. Not only because you're doing it for bonus points or anything, or just rack up a score. You're doing it because people are attracted to someone that gets it. That's why I'm here. And one of the things that we use to gauge if you understand, if you're aware, is group conversations. Super, super, super important that you get this right, because most everyone gets this wrong. Imagine the setting. You're at can be anything. Can be a barbecue, can be a meeting, can be a sparring session, and afterwards you're having a beer or a soda, you're just talking. And there are like 5 or 6 different people in a group. You're one of them. And the way this usually works is that someone is talking, maybe 2 people are talking, the rest are bystanders, they're listening. And it's interesting to observe how this works, because next time you're in one of these environments, can be everywhere, right? Can also be at work, can be at school, can be at the gym, doesn't matter. Next time, pay attention to what everyone is doing in the group, because it will tell you a lot. Oftentimes, the easiest way, obviously, to be there is to just be a bystander. Just stand, listen, don't talk too much, smile when appropriate, make sad noises when appropriate. But that's no fun, and that doesn't make you stand out. Now, I have to say this. If you want to stand out, you need to stand out in a good way, because plenty of times I've seen people stand out in a bad way. We don't want to do that. You're better off being a bystander than standing out in a bad way, because then you immediately announce to the world, I don't get it. I'm not to be trusted. I'm not to be taken into any new situation. Because, if you embarrass yourself, or if you embarrass other people take note of this. We're group animals at our core. We are very aware of what's going on. So let's say you're in the group. You're all talking. It helps if you can be the center, if you can tell a story well. As you know, I've gone into storytelling. One of the business mastery lessons is all about that. I would encourage you to watch that. But what's even better, probably, and won't require you to become an excellent orator or an excellent storyteller, is just to be aware of who's in the group and to be not only friendly, not only polite, but to engage them in the conversation. Let me give you a good example of something that happened recently. Maybe you'll find it handy to use in your own life. I was in a group setting, and this event was in the Netherlands. So most of the people are talking Dutch, but some people were there that didn't speak Dutch. Dutch is almost like a lost language. It's almost like Latin. No one speaks Dutch, just only Dutch people, right? And some Belgian people, but Belgium isn't a real country. Anyhow, we're standing in a group. The conversation is in Dutch. I notice people standing around that don't speak Dutch, because I saw them before, or I noticed that they were speaking French or English, right? And they're just looking at the guy speaking, because, you're in a group, maybe at that moment have any people or you're just standing around. And now I know that these people are listening in and they're just hearing sounds, but they have no idea what's being said. And the speaker was in the middle of a story, which is great. Like, it makes sense, right? You're telling a story. Maybe he started out with a Dutch audience, and then they joined. One of the things that's very easy for you to do in these kind of situations, not talking just language, right? I'm talking a sort of fish out of water scenario. Let's say you're all men and a girl joins in, or you're all in gym clothing and someone joins in that is in business attire or whatever, or just, he just finished his workout or just getting started. Whenever there's a fish out of water scenario, if there's like a lull in the conversation, if there's like a small quiet moment, you can set yourself up perfectly by using that small bit of dead space and either, in my case, switching the language, getting them into the group. Like the way I did it was basically saying, hey, must be tough to follow the conversation because it's in Dutch. Like, I mean, no one in the world speaks Dutch. And you make a joke and you get them involved. Or another thing that you can do very easily, the story, we all speak the same language. We all have the same clothing on. But you notice that someone hasn't been speaking. You can involve them in the conversation by asking them a question. Also, this happened recently as well. We were having a conversation and it was about military stuff. And all sorts of different nationalities were there. And there's one French guy was there and he wasn't speaking much. We were talking about the subject of military. And when there was a small pause in the conversation, I said, hey, it's always funny to shit on the French and to say that they surrender all the time. But you actually have one of the most winningest streaks in history, right? Your military history is amazing. And then you engage them into the conversation. You invite them into the conversation. Basically, you give them the limelight. You give them the opportunity to shine. What you don't do, very important, what you do not do is you never, ever, ever embarrass them. You can have fun, you can make a joke, be very careful not to embarrass people. So in my case, I started out with, it's always funny shitting on the French because, people find that funny in general, they always surrender. But in reality, that's not the case at all. You guys have a massive military history. And so you set up the joke, but then you sort of go over the top, make sure it's not embarrassing. Super, super important. Don't put someone on the spot in a nasty way. Giving people the opportunity to speak on something that is a topic that is flattering to them really sets you up as a group leader, as a leader of men, someone that gets it, gets the social game. And people will remember that. Not only the one that you give the stage, all of the people around you will remember it. It's funny. Afterwards, some people will remark that you're a very good conversationalist. You're an excellent speaker. You're very good in conversation, just flows. Well, the reason why is not because you didn't do that much talking. You gave them the layup, make it easy for them to score, and then they scored. And they remember you in a good way, have good feelings for you. And you want to treasure that. Make sure that that's cultivated, that people, when they see you, they see someone that just gets it. A question that often comes up is, how do I not be so nervous and forced? How do I talk to a very powerful, influential guy that can really help me out? How do I build a connection with that person? Or let's say there's a stunningly beautiful woman, a 10, and you want to talk to her and you don't want to mess up. You don't want to, look like a fool. How do you do that? Because people ask me quite often, do you ever get nervous talking to women? Do you get nervous talking to powerful people, rich people? And I've been in this situation quite a lot from both sides of this equation. So on the one hand, especially at the start of my career, oftentimes I was the guy that was talking to someone rich, powerful, influential that can really move my career forward. And now that I've started to, build some wealth, build some influence, have momentum on my side, now I'm seeing the other side of this whole thing where you have people approaching you to try to make a connection with you, which is also interesting. So let me give you some tips on handling this particular situation so that you come across as smooth and confident and competent in any social situation, especially when there's high stakes. A lot is on the line. Let's start with sort of a throwback to the last video. I told you in the last video that it's super important to realize that there's an abundance of people, beautiful women, rich and powerful people that can help you move forward. So you sort of try to go into the conversation with that in mind. If you mess up, it's not the end of the world. You should always have that, at the forefront of your mind. I'm not trying to get you to mess up, and you're not trying to mess up, but heaven forbid, if it did happen, you won't die. It's just another learning experience. But that's one thing that you sort of keep in mind. But that's easy for me to say. Like, if I put you in the situation, now all of that stuff sort of goes out the window. So you need to know how to handle it without me telling you, have the abundance mentality, because that doesn't really help, does it? In the heat of the moment, and you need to come up with something, and you want to know, like, how do I position myself correctly? Well, sure, you can think there's abundance mentality, but that doesn't really, we need specifics. So, number one, do not, for the love of God, do not act as a fanboy. Do not fawn over him or her. If it's a stunningly beautiful woman, don't start saying the cringy shit, saying, "Oh, you're the most beautiful thing I've ever seen, and you're such a queen, and I would take such good care of you, baby." Holy shit, man! Come on now. But what happens, and this is obvious, right? Because we've all seen the movies and we've all seen the videos of people doing exactly this, and it's so cringe. Like you have these the cringe, like your balls sort of retract into your body, like, oh my God. But what really happens, especially in like networking meetings or when people meet rich, powerful, influential figures, they sort of devolve into that. Where if you're really, let's say you're really a big fan of an actor or someone that you admire, and you finally meet them, there's some part of you that wants to do that, wants to say, "Oh, I know all your stuff. I've seen all your videos. You're amazing. You're so great. Like I'm so happy meeting you." Now, there's nothing inherently wrong with saying that you're a fan. I probably wouldn't say you're a fan, but there's nothing inherently wrong with saying, "Hey, I've seen a lot of your stuff," or "I know a lot of your accomplishments." That's all fine. Where you sort of miss the boat, where things sort of go awry, is when people start devolving into fanboy behavior. And that is really, it's repulsive for a simple reason. You're groveling. You're sort of putting yourself on a lower plane almost. You're sort of looking up to them. So please, 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 I'm so enamored with you. I'm so impressed by you as a human being that I feel I need to grovel. And it's embarrassing. Don't do it. Because what happens is you lose all respect from the person that you're talking to. So please don't do that. Make sure that you don't devolve into fanboy territory. Now, when I say that, I want to make sort of a caveat, because my second point is almost the opposite of this. When I say don't be a fanboy, some people take that and then conclude, oh, so what I should do is just be aloof, be, not impressed at all by this person, almost be dismissive. And that is the exact wrong thing to conclude from all this. I don't want you to do that. Like if you're talking let's say Tate. You meet Andrew Tate, right? And I don't know the setting. Let's say in a bar, coffee shop, whatever. Like if you're a fan and if you want to make a connection, like I said, you don't want to grovel, but you don't want to like dismiss him completely because this is a powerful, influential man. It's the same with a 10. Like if you meet a stunningly beautiful woman, like you don't want to sort of dismiss her or almost like be pretend like she's not beautiful. She knows, and Tate knows as well. Usually these people know that they have some importance. They have some gravitas in the world, right? It's not like these people are walking around thinking are completely clueless about their influence. In general, we know. And one of the best sort of gifts that you can give, one of the best ways of building the connection is to actually give them credit and listen to what they have to say. Especially these days, paying attention and actually listening to someone with rapt attention, like you're completely with that person and them alone. There's nothing else in the world. Making strong eye contact, listening, actually hearing what they have to say. And if they mention that, something about their accomplishments, you can say, "Oh, that's very impressive. That's amazing." That's not fanboy-ish behavior. That's just you being a normal human being. And if they say something of note, if they name drop, if they mention something that they've accomplished and it is impressive, you can say it's impressive. Obviously, that's normal human behavior. We want to do that. Normal people do that amongst each other, right? If your friend had accomplished something special, like if you won a race or something, you could say that's incredible. Congratulations, that's amazing. If you do this, you are making it clear that you understand the power dynamic here. Like you're not talking down to them. You're not also not talking sort of from a lower position to them, but you're talking from an equal position. Like we're both human beings. Yes, this person may be much richer, much more connected, much more influential, much more accomplished, much more beautiful. Like yes, that's all clear. That's all there. It's all on the table. Everyone knows this. But that doesn't mean that you have to treat them like a celebrity. That's like almost a cliche, right? If you treat them like a celebrity, they'll treat you as a fan. You want to treat them as a normal human being. Please do that. Tristan Tate, can't remember when he said it. Must be in a podcast. But he said something like, when you're having new experiences, let's say you get invited to a private plane, or you're on a yacht, or you're talking to someone that is very influential, you want to act like you belong there, like you belong in the room. You don't want to walk around like some tourist, like some cringy dude, filming everything. It's like, oh, this is amazing. It's my first time in a private jet. Oh, this yacht. Oh my God, I can't believe I'm here. Like that's cringe. You want to act like you belong in the room, because you do. You're a human being. You belong in the room. You're absolutely fine. You need to be comfortable in your own skin. Be comfortable being there with someone. Because if we're actually having a conversation and I'm listening to you and I'm paying attention, there's a real connection being built here. It's what happens between human beings when you're actually in rapport, which we're going to talk about more later on. But when I say rapport, it means that we're on the same wavelength. There's a connection here being built. And you can do this with any person. You can do it with a beautiful woman, you can do it with a rich man, you can do it with anyone. If you actually pay attention, act like you belong in the room, have some dignity, have your bearing, you can build this connection with anyone, and it's extremely powerful. I was in Dubai, and we were visiting an art gallery. Now, you have to know, I'm not a big art guy. I think most modern art is absolutely hideous and disgusting, and there's very little mastery going on. But in this case, it was a beautiful gallery. Some beautiful pieces there. And the way the guy set it up that owns it, he has this art everywhere. And then he has supercars as well in the gallery. And I don't think they're for sale. Like they're sort of there to up the image of the gallery. And it really worked. Like there's a Lamborghini there. There's a beautiful Ferrari there. There's also a Bugatti there. And these are all his cars, right? So we got a chance to talk to the owner of the art gallery. And he's sort of making the rounds like you do in network meetings. And I was shooting the shit with, I believe, with Tristan. And I see him making the rounds. And so I excuse myself and I go over to the art gallery owner, because this is a, successful, influential guy, has more money than I have. Maybe he's, a centimillionaire. I don't know, but he's doing very well for himself. And this is a situation that, like, for many normal human beings, this is like a high stakes thing. And the guy is having fun. It's his gallery. It's his moment. Like, it's his home turf, right? So I walk up to him and we start making some small talk. I think I said something about a piece of art, saying that it was stunning, absolutely beautiful, asking him, like, who makes these and how does the distribution go and how many of these do you sell? And at a certain point, he mentions that he has a son. And we were standing next to the Lamborghini, I believe. And I said, do you drive these out? Out of the gallery? And he said, yeah, well, every once in a while. So do you, like, when the kids go to school, right? Do you, like, drop them off in the Lambo? And his eyes lit up because of two reasons. One, the guy is a father. Usually, fathers like their kids. If, that's the way it should go, right? But I'm talking about something that's near and dear to him. But also, I picked it up out of the conversation because I was actually listening. It was sort of a throwaway comment. He mentioned his son in a very different context. And he had the son was young still, I think elementary school. But I picked it up because I was actually listening. And so two things happen. One, he knows that I'm actually listening to what he's saying. I'm paying attention, which is super, super, super important. One of the biggest gifts you can give to someone is to actually pay attention to what they're saying and make it clear that you're paying attention by picking it up out of the conversation and then getting back to it. We'll be going into listening as well in next installments, but super important. And his eyes light up and he says, yeah, well, my son, like, we have, I don't know, he had like 20 cars or something, like, insane, like, all like supercars, right? Yeah, my son he says, well, today I want to go with the Bugatti, and then I drive him to school in the Bugatti. And at this point, the connection was formed, and you sort of stand out from the crowd because you're not there fawning over him and trying to, pick his brain and get your fangs into him. So maybe we can do business later on. That's not a thing, man. If you're talking to a rich, influential, powerful guy, trust me, we get like these requests all the time from people. Everyone wants your money. Everyone wants your connections. Everyone wants something of you. That's the way it works. That's just a thing these days. Everyone wants something of you. So you sort of stand out by actually listening to someone and not leading with whatever you want out of the conversation. Whatever you want, that can come later. You don't have to lead with that. Just make a genuine connection with a person. And then from there on out, maybe you can do business later on. Like in this case, there's not really anything that came out of the conversation where I made money. But I did make the connection. And I can guarantee you that if I meet him again, or when we talk on, I don't know, Instagram or wherever I have his socials, he knows who I am because I stood out. It's almost as if you're passing sort of a test again to see if you belong in the room. But we'll be going into that in the next installment of the Sales, Seduction, and Social Skills Academy.